Well, I'm Jada. A lot of people who have already heard my story and seen my accounts know me under Jada's Advocacy or Jada's Justice for a while, but I switched it back. I've been sharing my story pretty openly for, I would say, honestly, about 5 years now. So I started posting in like 2021. And I started posting my story while I was actively living with my abusers, which was my biological mother and my stepfather, for the people who are maybe hearing this for the first time. So I guess I can start with a little bit of my story for the people who haven't heard it, and then kind of go into how I reported and things like that. But really my whole entire life, as early as I can remember, was abuse and trauma. Like my earliest memories are being abused by my biological mother and my stepfather. The majority of it was sexual abuse, but it was just torturous in that house. Like there was emotional abuse, physical abuse, a lot of psychological stuff with my mom locking up our food, and just you really had to walk on eggshells in the house. And those are my earliest memories.
Did you have siblings?
Yes, I had, my little brother was born when I was 3.5, and my little sister was born when I was 9. So those were the two siblings I had that lived in the house, but I also have an older sister who I'm now very close with. But at the time, she lived with her mom full time. So I would see her holidays. We didn't really have a set schedule, so I would see her weekends occasionally, things like that. And we had a very distant relationship because her dad was my stepfather, who was my main abuser. So she didn't like me because I didn't like her dad, and the whole stepsister drama type thing.
And kids don't understand yet.
Right. You don't.
What's going on.
You don't get it. And we've definitely made amends, and we have a great relationship now. But yeah, all of my relationships with my siblings were very difficult. Still to this day, they are. The relationships that we have that are kind of non-existent at this point. Yeah, growing up, it was just kind of, like I said, from the start, just abuse. I guess I fell into fawning a lot, and flopping, which are trauma responses of just kind of people pleasing and going along with what my abusers wanted for years, until I kind of reached those teenage years where you kind of start to get your own, attitude, or you start to kind of look at other people's lives. And then that's when I started to realize maybe what is happening to me isn't normal. Mm-hmm. But I would say up until about 14, I was very in this haze of it happened to me so often, the sexual abuse and just everything in that house. It was just normal. It was just every day. That's just what I experienced. It wasn't I was crying or upset. It was kind of more just you do what you got to do to survive. Just put a smile on your face and make it to the next day. Because if you don't, my mom's even more mad at you, because she very much was kind of a drill sergeant. Very no crying's allowed, tough it up, brush it off. I think that's because she struggles internally with showing her own emotions and being there for people. So it made her uncomfortable. So she kind of shut that down. So I was forced to kind of just shove it all down until I got to a point where I just couldn't anymore. Mm-hmm. And then that's when it started showing up in my life, with substance abuse issues. And I started smoking cigarettes when I was 14. And I just struggled super, super bad in school. And that's the thing that I don't think that people realize, people who aren't survivors, or maybe have been around a lot of survivors, that it's not just the sexual abuse and then you're fine afterwards. If you go to some therapy, it carries on and it causes so many other difficulties, and then you have to deal with those difficulties, but it all roots back to that trauma. So I was dealing with, not being able to go to school, and if I was at school, not being able to focus on my work. And I just really struggled with everything in life, really. I mean, getting up, eating, doing all of those things that might be easier for somebody, I just could not do.
I think too, because your body is constantly living in that fight or flight. And I wanted to ask you as well, growing up, did your parents allow you, or your mom and your stepdad, did they allow you to have plans with friends and things like that? Or was it very strict with everything too?
So that's the thing that kind of made my life a little bit confusing.
Okay.
Is that there were good times like
Yeah.
in my childhood. So I did have like friends, and I brought a lot of friends actually over more than I would like go out. And I think that was due to me not wanting to be away from my siblings. That was just kind of a pattern throughout my childhood of just kind of wanting to stay close to them because I knew what was going on in the house.
Yeah.
So I would bring a lot of my friends over, which now, looking back as an adult, you realize you were kind of I wasn't, but my parents were allowing me to put my friends in bad situations and in dangerous situations around a predator who didn't only, prey on me. My stepdad 100% preyed on anyone that was around him,
Gotcha.
friends, animals, adults. I mean, even the elderly, I would not put it past him,
So everything.
yeah, I believe that anything that is vulnerable and available, like he will take advantage. And I feel like at this point, no, because I've reported it and he's, under such strict, everything. But before, I mean, yeah, I believe throughout his whole entire life, up until I reported him, he was preying on everyone.
And then as for the people that haven't heard your story yet, because even for myself, I know I've kind of grazed over everything. Have you shared some of the specifics of the abuse on your?
Yes, I have. I think I've definitely pulled back from sharing them just as now that I'm like going to a trial and things like that. So I've kind of just stopped sharing them as much on my platform, but I haven't deleted any of my old videos or anything like that. The stuff with like him sexually abusing me with the animal and stuff like that. These are topics that I specifically choose to talk about on my platform, even though they are super raw and super taboo, but I do that on purpose because I completely felt alone in those experiences. Like I would say probably out of all of the abuse that I went through, which was, 9 years of sexual abuse almost every day by my stepfather. So that's a lot of abuse. I would say I could not face like what he had done to me with my childhood animal at all. Like I couldn't really even put it to words. Like for years, even going to therapy, talking about it online, for quite a while, finding a lot of other survivors, I just couldn't put the words to it and like face it. And then one day I just started kind of going online and looking and I just couldn't find anything at all, nothing. And then that's when I realized like this stuff needs to be talked about more. Like I feel completely alone and there has to be somebody else out here who's gone through this. But at that time I really did feel completely alone. Like I didn't really know if anyone had gone through that.
Yeah, and I think the thing with things like that as well is that it's dark. It's but it's also very real. And I think a lot of this stuff isn't talked about in depth because people either don't want to hear it or it makes them uncomfortable. But it's very real and it's out there and it's happening. And it is something that, it needs to be addressed and talked about.
Yes. And I also believe that people truly don't believe it. Like that is actually like, I truly believe that. And it doesn't help that we make jokes about bestiality and we put things like even in the latest, Euphoria, somebody dressing up as a dog. And it seems so innocent, but it's not because there are people who have really gone through these traumatic things. And then even if it's not triggering, it's still minimizing a real serious thing.
Yeah, the severity of it.
Right. And it's a not very serious thing in our criminal system. Like if you really look at the charges for sexually abusing animals or having somebody sexually abuse you with an animal, it's very minor. They're usually class C misdemeanors. They're very slap on the wrist. You go home, you're fine.
Right.
And I mean, that's what kind of happened with me even. Like I had to go back to grand jury after reporting and they've taken all of those charges away because they're so minor and just added like more severe crimes to it. And they're just considering it that.
Do you think it's because obviously the animals can't defend themselves? Like it's like if they consider it less serious because it's not another human being that like can...
Yes, I do believe that. Yeah. And I don't think that people take it seriously. partly because of our media and how much we have just kind of minimized the severity of sexually abusing animals. I mean, it was legal forever. I mean, so many people, I mean, it's still, they say that it's illegal. It's still all over the internet. You know, I was forced to watch all of this type of stuff as a child. You know, it shouldn't be there. Like, we should have safeguards that completely wipe that stuff off of the internet. It's possible that they could, but they don't. It is there, readily accessible for anybody to watch it. And that's just terrible.
Sick.
Yeah, it's sick. And a lot of those people that are in those videos or are people maybe behind it, the camera, and they're forcing those people to do it, they will never have any consequences half the time.
So this might sound really hard to believe, but believe it or not, there is a version of you that sleeps through the night, that thinks clearly, is awake, energized, alive, and that might seem far away right now. And trust me, I get it, because there was a time that was very much me, and that's where I was when I found Biologica. Biologica is a daily drinkable supplement that goes way beyond any multivitamin. I feel like it can be really annoying and frustrating to have to take a bunch of different supplements and pills every day. It's just overwhelming. Nobody wants to do it. And this actually combines vitamins, minerals, probiotics, electrolytes, and clinically researched botanicals all in one drink. Something that really stuck out to me about this product is that they are not a one-size-fits-all by any means. They have 3 different formulas based on whatever hormonal life stage you're at. So they have the primary essentials, midlife essentials, and then post-menopause essentials, so that you're actually supporting where your body is at right now in the moment. I personally have been using the primary essentials, and some things that really stood out to me that have really improved are my energy levels, my skin, which I was really shocked about, and just my overall mood and bloating and things like that. And I really like it because it's super simple. It's something that I don't forget to take every day because it's just a powder that I mix into my water, easy to drink, and tastes amazing. Another super important quality that I like to mention is that it's made with clean ingredients and by women's health experts. So we're not actually working against the hormones in our body. We're learning how to support them. Everything's clean. There's no added sugar. And these experts really understand and grasp the concept that our bodies are constantly changing over time. So head to biologica.com/insane to get started. Take their quick hormonal life stage quiz to find the formula that's right for you. And right now, subscribers can receive up to 32% off their purchase. Again, make sure to go to biologica.com/insane and get up to 32% off your first subscription order today.
Shocking. It's insane.
It truly is. And like, what happened to me was completely premeditated. Like, he woke up one day after, years of watching these making me watch these videos and him watching them probably on his own as well. And he woke up one day, this is what I truly believe, and he just decided, I'm going to get an animal and live out this sick fantasy because it was so random. He did it behind my mom's back. She said she did not want an animal. She went to work. He just woke me and my siblings up, and we're like, we're going to go and get a dog today. And then within, I would say, maybe not even a month of having this animal, he was sexually abusing it and forcing it to sexually abuse me. So like, looking at it, it's premeditated. Like, there's no way. And then after this, the dog has some skin issues and they don't want to put the money into it. So then they just rehome him. So it's like, and it was not even just that he was a dog that like I loved, it was my family dog. It's that he went even to the extreme of this dog was deaf and blind. So like, this dog not only is an animal who cannot speak and cannot protect themselves as a human can, but it's even more, vulnerable because this animal actually is like disabled, like it's horrible. Like, it is genuinely horrible. And then these people just walk amongst us, you report them, they bail out, and then they just sit around and walk free.
Right.
And it's, yeah.
And would he do this to all of your siblings?
I do not believe that he did anything to my siblings besides like things that I would obviously let my siblings share on their own accord.
Okay.
There was, when you live with predators, I feel like there's no way for everyone in the house to not be affected.
Yeah.
So I believe that my siblings, in my eyes, were sexually abused. But I'm not going to like share their stories for them. But when you are openly watching pornography, when there are 3 children in the living room, that is a form of sexual abuse, whether you are being touched or not. So
It's also traumatic.
Yeah, I do consider all of my siblings victims of sexual abuse and of abuse in general. Because even if they were not victims of sexual abuse in my parents' eyes, or maybe even the law's eyes, they were victims of abuse, period. Because there was so much more that went in, in that house than just what my stepfather was doing or my mother took partake in for a while.
How was your mother's relationship with your stepfather? Were they pretty abusive towards each other, or?
Yeah, I would say that my mom was more of the aggressor in a lot of these situations, and that's kind of hard to face. And I do think that some of the situations were more like mutual, but he was maybe the quieter one, so it just seemed like she was the aggressor because she is very loud. But their relationship was they were just constantly pointing fingers at each other, just blaming each other for things constantly. I've seen a lot of domestic violence, them fighting, putting hands on each other in the car, throwing things at each other. I mean, they were openly swingers. So, but they also lacked loyalty and communication, which I think that has to be a part in that.
Right.
So they would always be fighting about cheating or this or that, and they never kept it quiet. It was very loud and stressful. I was constantly trying to hide, my siblings from it, cover their ears, let's go to my room and play, or let's go outside because we shouldn't be around this type of deal. And that's another reason why I wouldn't like to go to school, because my siblings were much younger than me. Okay. So most of the time my brother and me went to school, but my sister was at home for, the first 5 years of her life while I was trying to go to school, but it was difficult.
Did you ever confide in any of your friends about what was happening at home, or did you really keep it to yourself?
Truthfully, I was pretty open about what was happening once I got to the point of after what happened to me with the animal, I really kind of cracked. I was kind of broken because at that time I started to blame myself. I think that's what it was. I really started to feel a lot of shame and disgust towards myself for having gone through these things, which obviously was misplaced, but I did not know that at the time. So I started to kind of get overwhelmed with all of those feelings, and I felt like I needed to kind of tell people because I wasn't a very good friend or a very good person at all. I really struggled. I was very angry, and I just wasn't a very good friend, at all. That's just the easiest way to put it. So to make sense of why I wasn't, acting accordingly, I told my best friend, this is what I'm going through. At the time, we were probably only 9 or 10, maybe 11 at the most, the oldest. You don't know what to do with that.
Right.
When your friend's crying on the playground saying, my dad's touching me, she didn't know what to do with that. So being the, naive person who obviously wasn't taught anything, just like I wasn't, not about safe touch or safe adults, or when something happens like that, you go and tell an adult. She wasn't taught that. So she went and told my older sister, which was that was my stepdad's biological daughter. So this put a lot of fear into me because we were all the same age, so we all played together.
Gotcha.
Then my sister came to me and said, your friend told me that, you said this. And then I just completely denied it. And then at that point, I kind of shut down. So I would say until I was about 14, 15, that's when I talked about it again.
Okay.
But I stayed silent after that one incident because he found out that I had told my older sister.
Daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
And then he came up to me and was like, why are you going around the neighborhood telling people that? You can't tell people that. And really the way that he said it, the face, it was he didn't need to threaten me. Yeah. I knew that he was dangerous. And if I didn't listen, I feared for my safety. I feared that he would make up lies about me and tell them to my mom, maybe say that I was bad all day, and then make the relationship with me and my mom even worse. I would get the silent treatment. I mean, I would get treated differently if I didn't behave accordingly to what he wanted.
Do you think any adults like in like around your area or even at their work? Did they both work?
So like there would be periods of time.
Okay.
Like they were very, like none of them had careers.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Because I was going to ask, like, as far as community goes, do you think anyone had any idea of the type of people they were, or they kind of stuck to themselves?
I would say that people definitely knew who my mom was.
Okay.
A lot of people, and they can deny it, but she was very loud. She was very angry, and she had a very hard time. She has mental illness. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it is very hard for people who have mental illness to keep it under check all the time. And I think that my family members definitely knew that she was at least verbally abusive to all of her kids, that she locked up the cabinets. I mean, you could go in the house and you could see that, there are just things like, I know that my maternal grandmother knew a lot more than what she wants to admit. And I think that's, due to people being bystanders, the bystander effect, and just, you don't know when to step in. You don't know, and it's your family member. And, I've tried to let go of a lot of blame for those people. But there comes a point where when certain things are disclosed, you have to do what you are supposed to do, which is protect children, no matter what. Even if that is above your child, and you have to go against your child to protect your grandchild or whatever it is, you have to stand with the person who was sexually abused or abused in any capacity, not just sexual abuse. Like abuse is very serious. And a lot of these families just brush it under the rug. Oh, she did her best, and that's not good enough. Even if it was her best, there's still abuse that took place, So it's like, what are we doing to really support these people or protect them? And I wasn't only just not protected throughout my entire childhood, but then my family completely let me down once I finally disclosed to them as an adult when I was about 19, Everyone just turns against you when you disclose stuff like this because they're so shamed and they're so disgusted or they're so embarrassed that they didn't help or whatever, but they don't take a step back and think, well, I'm not the victim in this.
Yeah.
I'm actually not. Yes, sexual abuse affects the entire family unit, but you're truly not the victim. And I have been kind of made to feel like my entire family like victimized themselves and just kind of abandoned me when I really just needed true support. And I've had to do everything alone.
So you told your friend around 9 years old. Then you were quiet again until you were 14. And then who did you tell when you were 14?
I think that the first person I told when I was 14 would have been my first love.
Okay.
Like my first girlfriend. Like not my first girlfriend, but like the one that counts.
Yes.
The one that I was
absolutely
with for the longest. And I basically anyone that I was intimate with, it got to a point where I would cry. Like after being intimate with anyone, and it was just like they would feel bad and like feel like it was almost their fault, like they were making me upset, and I didn't like that feeling. So I would always try to disclose before, even if it was very like, simple, like, oh, just so you know, I went through sexual abuse, so I have these triggers or whatever. I didn't need to do a deep dive for everyone, but I ended up like really disclosing a lot to my first love. I told her like everything that had happened to me, and that was really difficult because, it was the first time that I had really told anyone anything. And then it kind of just continued. Like we weren't together, it was a young love. So we would break up and then I would, be with other people and things like that. And then slowly more people kind of found out. I would slowly tell friends, and always when I would tell people, I would make sure like that nobody was like gonna tell anyone else or report for me or anything like that. I was very, honestly, at the beginning, I don't really think I told anyone who did it. I was kind of more just like, this happened, but, I don't know by who, that kind of deal. Besides, my love. That was the only person who knew like the true details of it all. And then we kind of drifted apart completely. And weird side part of my life, trauma, she ended up dating my stepsister for a year about.
Okay.
And during that time, she told my sister that everything had happened. So a little bit of betrayal there, telling somebody's story for them. But then this kind of confirmed the original thing that I had told, that my sister had found out when we were around 8 or 9.
Side note, do you think your stepsister was getting abused by her dad?
I do not think so. She went through her own trauma, but from like what we have talked about now, she kind of considers herself, like I have said, kind of like because she was around, you were victimized to some degree. I mean, that is her father,
And I ask because, I was thinking between your one friend telling her and then this girlfriend, ex thing, love.
Right.
Like if it was hard for her to believe because it wasn't happening to her. So it wasn't like it was like, oh, like it happened to me too, I believe. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I wasn't sure.
I think it was very difficult for her to believe. And at one point, obviously, my sister dating my first love and all this, it caused a lot of turmoil. Me and my sister went no contact for a while. We were all 16. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. We were all young.
We're young.
Yeah. We moved on. Me and my sister love each other to death. It is what it is. But during that time, it caused a lot of like stress for me. And like, I just didn't understand why my sister would do that to me at the time. Or why my ex would do that. It was just like really confusing for me. So I remember kind of going to my sister at one point before she had actually before my ex-girlfriend had told her, I kind of went to her in a message and I was like, hey, I don't know, what happened in our childhood that have made our relationship so bad that you need to date my ex or whatever. I don't know what's going on here, but I just wanted I've gone through a lot in the house that maybe I didn't share with you, and I didn't tell her anything. It was a kind of a I want to tell you, but I can't tell you type of deal. And then she replied back with, I'm not here for your mystery novel, Jada. When you really want to actually tell me what's going on, I'm here, but I don't know what you're talking about. I'm lost.
Right.
And then that's when I think Anna decided, my ex decided,
fine with it?
Yeah, it's totally okay. She decided to tell her. And I think it was in good faith at that time. It was in good faith that she told her, because I think she was like, you're being really mean to your sister right now. She actually did go through some shit.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about that. And then that's when my sister reached out to me and was like, oh my God.
Okay. And then when she reached out, it was she was kind of
yeah, I think that it very much hit her.
Gotcha.
And that's when she realized, we've talked about it, oh my God, why am I hurting her more? Even if I have true feelings for this person or we have this good connection, this is my sister, damn. Let me take a step back here, and I think that it did kind of hit her that oh, she did kind of try to disclose when we were children, and it kind of all started to connect. All the pieces started to connect for my older sister, and she dealt with a lot of shame and a lot of, grief and pain for blaming herself, even though she shouldn't have at all. And then that is when really I started to just kind of tell everyone. Okay. Everyone just kind of started to know, and even that it was my stepdad and my mom, and I didn't really care to keep it private anymore, besides out of my family.
And you were still living with them, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of lived with them on and off.
Okay.
I would go to a boyfriend's house that was older than me and live there for a few months. Or I lived with my first love, Anna, for years, with her and her family. And then she moved in with me and lived with me for a while because I didn't want to be there alone.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be there. I feel from the age of probably about 12, I was trying to find ways to get out of the house.
And then I'm assuming when you got to the point where you were more openly sharing it, I'm sure did the abuse still continue verbally, the emotional abuse? It just...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I think it made it worse. All the abuse that I went through in the house, it didn't make sense to me because my mom knew. She knew what her husband was doing to me the entire time. She partaked in it the very first time that I was sexually abused. So for me, it was everything that I have gone through, and you continue to abuse me. I do not understand this. So that's when I started to get very angry and very resentful towards her. And it was very hard to have a relationship with her because I did love my mom. I still do. I love her. I try to find reasons for why she did what she did all the time. I'm trying to rationalize it all the time because I do still love her. But I don't think that she loved me. I don't think that she is capable of loving, like truly. I think something is off. That is the only way that I can rationalize mothers doing this.
If she was abused by her mom?
I know that she had a bad childhood.
Okay.
But she's very anti talking about anything or even being honest to a therapist. I don't think she's ever gotten that far in her life.
And sometimes I feel like, if you're already in a vulnerable, weak state and then you meet somebody, like your stepdad, that is into even worse shit.
Yes. And I
it's almost like
definitely believe that because my mom was a stripper when she met my stepdad. So she was stripping in Portland, Oregon, and then he was there as a customer. Like that's how they met. Yeah. That's already not. I didn't even think you were supposed to date your clients. I didn't think that was a thing. And then 2 months later, I think it was, I could even be giving them more time. They were moved in together. Yeah. And, I think she moved him into her place.
Okay.
And, because she's the one who had the kids,
Right.
So before I knew it, she has her 1-year-old daughter around this unknown man that she doesn't even know, that she met in a environment of sex and sexualizing women. And you brought him in the house, and it wasn't just she brought him in the house. Now he's watching me every night when she goes to work.
Okay.
And it was really weird. Like I have vague memories when I was young, younger than 5. And I always felt unsafe. Like that's what the feeling is when I think back to those memories. But I can't pinpoint exactly what was going on. But even things that my mom would say were weird. Like, how you grow up and you'll hear little stories about what kind of kid you were. Well, the things that my mom always said just were weird. Like she would say every time Paul would come home, your stepdad, and you can put his name too. It's all public. Every time Paul would come home, you would cry. Well, why is that?
Right.
That's weird. Just little weird remarks like that. Why is your daughter screaming and crying every time this strange man comes home? These are signs of sexual abuse. These are signs of trauma that she's just acting like is another story to tell, and it's just strange. Or every time I'd come home from my grandma's house, I'd freak out. Never want to leave my grandma's house. Even then, this is my paternal grandma, my dad's mom. Even then, if she were taught, she would think, why is she screaming and acting this way when she goes home? What's going on? But I don't know if they were just, willingly ignorant or what it was, but they didn't ever ask those questions.
I think the issue too is because these topics are so taboo and people are so hush-hush about it, that you just look at it as oh, she's just a kid.
Yeah.
Or she's going through it right now, whatever it might be. But we're not taught, maybe more so now, but we weren't taught to look at those as red flags or investigate ourselves of why is she acting that way? Or is something going on? It's almost it just wasn't knowledge.
Right. You don't want to believe that anyone you love, a child that you love is going through that.
Right. Did you have a relationship with your biological dad at all?
Yeah. So my biological dad, he was in and out of prison my entire childhood, but he's currently still serving time right now on a 2-year sentence. He'll get out in October.
Okay.
So he has 5 months left. And that's just kind of the relationship.
Gotcha.
Lots more time on prison calls than time with him in real life. And I'm looking forward to him getting out to hopefully build on our relationship.
Does he know about everything?
Yeah. But during my childhood, he was kind of somebody who'd send me cards once in a while. I talked to him. Every memory I have of my dad is great. That is one thing that I'll give him. The memories I have of him are playing like dentist at his house and washing green grapes in his fridge, like out of his fridge, and like going and seeing movies, like the Ratatouille and things like that. Like I absolutely adored my dad as a kid, but I dealt with a lot of resentment because why aren't you here to protect me?
Right.
Where are you? Type of deal. I mean, even now, like I still struggle with resentment towards him.
Trauma in another way.
Yeah, because it's like, well, now I'm going through all of this legal stuff. I just really want my dad. Like sometimes I just cry. Like I just want some parent, like someone. I never had that, And then the person that I had was my paternal grandmother. Her name's Jody. And like almost all the tattoos I have are for her. Like she was my mom. Like she was the closest thing to a mom that I ever had. She was somebody who truly loved me unconditionally. Like lets you mess up, but still that's not cool. Like, puts you back in check. Yeah. But she passed away when I was 19. And that was like at the start of all of this, like the start of me, like my family finding out was the start of that. It wasn't the start of me sharing my story willingly, but it was like when my family started to find out. And that was because I was forced to kind of disclose when I wasn't ready. And that's also another layer of trauma. And that's like the thing that people I don't like that aren't in my life, they don't really understand like what happens behind the scenes, because I feel like certain survivors and certain people who share their stories focus on the present and some focus on the past. And I focused a lot on the past. So nobody really knew or even knows now like what I was really actively going through day to day. Yeah. They just know like the past, like my childhood. But like nobody knows like all the trauma that happened in my marriage and why it led to divorce or like any of these things. But it all roots back to my childhood and the trauma. And it's just like layer after layer of thing after thing, and it starts to take a toll on people.
Absolutely. And I feel like in every aspect of your life as well. So when you started openly talking about it and your family knew, how did that change the dynamics when you were kind of living with them on and off? Did you just try to avoid?
It really, at the beginning, I really feared, like for my safety, for my life, for my place that I could live. Like I felt like I could be kicked out at any point because I lived under their roof. And then I was sharing these things that were true, but they did not want me sharing, It was very scary and nerve-wracking. When I started posting, I would post things and delete them constantly because I'd post it and I'd be like so brave at that moment. And then maybe a few hours passed or the next day and I'd be like, oh my God, my mom's going to see this.
Okay. So you started posting when you were like 19.
I started posting more when I was 21.
Okay, gotcha.
And like what I was saying with the added layer of like having to kind of force to be just like to disclose when I wasn't ready was I just had really hard time being in that house. Like I said, I was trying to find a way to leave starting at 12. Around 19, I went through, I don't know what it was. I was just going through a really bad time. I can't even remember. I dissociated a lot too. So like everything is kind of all over. But at that time, I was going through a really hard time and I knew I just didn't want to be there. So I was kind of like trying to be at my grandma's house or be at my aunt and uncle's house. And my aunt and uncle, that is my mom's brother and his girlfriend, who I consider my aunt. She was in my life for a long time, so I just call her that. I was there when she had my cousin, and like she's just my aunt. And I was very close to them. And I was staying over there, and my uncle had said something about how, like stepdads get a bad rap because he's a stepdad. And I was like, well, some stepdads actually, because I was in a bad place. And, it was always like a internal thing of like wanting to share, but not knowing how to. And like wanting my family to know, but being really scared. So I'd let little things out. But I mean, everyone knew I hated my stepdad. I would definitely give them that, but they didn't know why. They thought it was just like a typical thing. I basically told them that. And then I had told my aunt a little bit more about how like, I'm going through like some stuff, like in my childhood, a lot of bad stuff happened, whatever. I wasn't really sharing exactly. And then she told my uncle, and then they woke me up at like 4 a.m. when I was sleeping, like tap me, come on, let's go in the garage, like smoke a cigarette, come on. So they take me out there and then they just kind of start nailing me with questions. And I'm woken up out of a sleep for
Right.
this, you know. It's like, what's going on at home? You need to tell us. Like all of these questions just back to back to back to back to back. And I remember sitting there for a long time smoking, like not really knowing how to tell them, you know, like just very upset, kind of like already mad at my aunt, already defensive because I'm like, well, why would you tell my, you know, this is how I am. Like this is how my brain worked at that time. So I'm already like kind of defensive, on high alert, but then I just kind of let it all, like, okay, you guys want to know so bad. Like, here you guys go. Then I just laid it all out. And they were fine with everything I had said at first. Everything was all good. Like, okay, but then they started telling me what to do. Like, you're going to report, or like, this is what we want you to do, kind of like guiding me to like tell me what to do. And everything was fine until they found out my mom was involved. And then the energy in the room shifted. Like the garage wasn't the same anymore. It was more like, what do you mean my sister was involved in this? Like, no. And like, kind of like not believing me, not like wanting to understand that it wasn't just Paul. Like this is a lot deeper. And then it went into like, well, no, your mom knows. What do you mean my mom knows? You know, like they started like getting very angry and upset. And then he's like, I'm going to tell your grandpa. And then it just becomes this whole blown up thing. I remember shaking and being so upset and just crying to them and saying, please don't tell anyone. Don't report it. Because they were kind of very worried about my siblings. Understandable. Completely understandable. So making a call to CPS or DHS, you know, like the people who help kids, whatever, that's fine. I understand that. Because you're, you know, a mandated reporter or whatever it is that you think you need to do to protect the kids in the house or at least make sure they're not being abused. Okay. But they took it a step further and they took it to the police and basically made a whole police report against my will. At this time, I am 19. You know, I'm not a child, you know, so this is very traumatic. So, and I am living in their house, my abuser's house, and no one's offered me a place to live. No one said, hey, while you do all of this and we blow up your whole life, we'll let you come and live with us while you figure it out. Or we'll even get you a hotel room or anything to just offer me some safety net. It was like, no, we're going to blow up your whole life. We're going to report. We're going to send DHS to your house. And then we're going to expect you to go home and sleep there at night and live there and coexist with those people. Like it was beyond traumatic. Like I did not want to go upstairs. I did not want to face my mom. I did not want to face them at all. And that is what turned into me being angry. I was so angry. I did not care about reporting anymore. I did not care about anything that I went through anymore. I just wanted nobody to do anything anymore. Like I just wanted to make my own decisions and that didn't happen. And I wasn't allowed that. So I became very, very angry. As if I wasn't already angry before.
Right. And I think the whole thing is what they didn't clearly realize is that the whole situation you went through, you had no control.
Yep.
And then you tell them or you confided in her and then it blows up to this. And then by them reporting without your consent, you have no control again.
Yes. And it became something I could not handle.
Yeah.
Because I was never ready to report. And that is why I'm a very strong advocate for you don't need to report. Like you don't. Unless you truly want to. And I don't even think you should report if you are alone. Like if you do not have a support, like network behind you, it is a very traumatic thing to do. So, I mean, if you think you can do it by yourself, sure, do it. If that's what you need to do. But I would definitely suggest having support. Yeah. Like when I went into it, I had support. And then it's kind of dwindled down. It is very hard to go through, like significantly. That's when you want to do it. So imagine somebody forcing you when you're not ready. Like it was, I mean, just like living in survival constantly. My nervous system was on high alert always. And I just started to kind of recant everything. Like I lied about it. Nope, none of that was true. Like just forget it. Like you said. Just forget it.
Did the police end up coming to the house?
So that's the thing. Like the CPS ended up coming and the cops ended up, I think, calling my parents at that time and tried to get them like for an interview. And they wouldn't do the interview, or maybe they did. I don't know. Because at this time, I believe I took my stuff and I like went to my grandma's house or something, I was very scared to be there. So I was kind of all over the place. That's when CPS got involved and they took my siblings away for like 10 days to do this whole investigation. But my siblings were with my grandmother that knew that I was being sexually abused during childhood. She did nothing. You know, like it just didn't make sense even how CPS worked. And then my mom was just blaming me. Like she would just text me like, you've ruined my whole life. You're going to get my house taken away. I'm going to lose everything because of you. Like, that's what it was. Like, that's what she was saying, like verbatim, like, and she was just very angry with me, not with anything that she did that led to this outcome or anything like that. She was just mad at me, which made me even more upset. Because at that time, I was just trying to people please. Like, I just wanted my mom to be happy. I wanted my family to be happy. I didn't even really want to get her involved, like my mom. I didn't want anybody to really even know that she was a part of it. I kind of kept that hush-hush for a long time. Like, even through therapy, it took me multiple therapy sessions before I finally said, like, oh yeah, by the way, like my mom knew that all of this was going on. And that's such like a deep betrayal. Like that is such a deep hurt when your own mother can do something like that to you. And I just had no control during the whole entire process of them reporting against my will and everything. So I ended up going silent again. I just went silent. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I didn't want to deal with it anymore. And that was probably from the end of like 2018, the beginning of 2019 to February 2021. That is when I broke. Like, I just couldn't live with these people anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't. And during the first reporting, like when my aunt and uncle made the report, I actually called the detectives and nobody really knows that. I didn't even tell my mom the truth. I didn't tell anybody the truth. I told them that they reached out to me to do an interview. But reality is that I called them in 2019 and I said, can I sit down with you guys and talk to you about like my aunt reporting, like what is going, like what is, everyone's talking to everybody, but nobody's talking to me. And I'm the victim here, you know? So I ended up calling the detective and he's now retired. So many years have passed, but I talked to him. And at the time he basically I told him like, yeah, like this happened. Like in the interview room, I had my mom drive me down there. I lied and I said, oh yeah, they're making me do this, and it was all voluntarily. She drops me off at the police station in Rainier, Oregon. I made him drive all the way out from Portland, a whole hour to meet me, just to tell him I'm not reporting, just to tell him that. But I asked him like, what would happen if I don't? Like, what's going to happen if I do? Like, and kind of just asked him questions as I am legally allowed to do. Yeah. And he basically explained it to me as like, well, we have a lot of we've done a lot more research and we have a lot more understanding about sexual abuse, especially historical sexual abuse. And like, this should be on you. Like when you want to report, we're here and we'll listen. But if you're not ready for it, don't do it. He says, what it sounds like is your family's just taking your life like a can, just kicking it down the road and acting like it's like, in their control. And that's not fair to you. Like it's your life. You live with these people, he told me. He's like, so maybe you should figure out not how to live with those people first. Yeah. And then, when you're ready, come and talk to us. But, like we're here. And unfortunately, it is going to sit on the shelf and it's going to start counting down your statute of limitations now because she reported against your will. But we are here. So I was like, okay, cool. So that's done. So I'm like, I'm not reporting. I'm not in this state of mind. I don't want to do that. But now I have like this anger towards my aunt and uncle for doing that to me. Like I'm out for blood. Like I'm angry.
Well, also the fact that their whole demeanor changed when they found out your mom was involved.
Yes. And their whole demeanor changed when they were in control.
Yeah.
And that's what I've realized with a lot of my family members. Like, it was like, we're here to support you as long as you do what we want. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you do what you want, or you tell us, actually, I'm not in the place to do that right now. Not that I'm not in the place to do it ever. Yeah. But I'm not in the place to do it right now because I just cannot. They're just like a big fuck you. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, well, you don't want to report your abuser? Well, then maybe you wanted to be abused. Like that type of stuff. like really, really horrible stuff that hits low. Like that's how low my aunt would go. Like you spread your legs to your family members type stuff, like crazy. And it was all because I didn't report. So I must be protecting them, right? When in reality, I was just scared. Like I was so beyond scared. I didn't know how to go about it. Like I didn't know really where I was going to live. I mean, that's really what it came down to. It came down to the fact that my parents financially trapped me. Like I was financially dependent on them as an adult. And they did it on purpose. It was another form of abuse that happened in the house. And it just has. I mean, it shows even with my other siblings. Like my mom is a person who holds her kids back. Like that's just what she does. She doesn't want you to be better than her. And I don't think my stepdad wants people to be better than him either. Like all of us, they wanted us to stay below them.
Going through reporting something, first of all, like you said, what's going to happen? There's a chance you do all of this and then nothing happens from it. And also just the fact of having to tell it over and over and report. It's a lot.
Yes.
Like
and
you
I was
have to
so
be ready.
brainwashed too.
Right.
Like I was so brainwashed into believing that like, if I did this, I was hurting my mom. If I did this, I wouldn't see my siblings again. You know, like I truly believed these things. So I struggled with letting it go. Like whatever happens, happens. It's not my fault. And I got to that point and I've reached that point now, but it took years of really going to therapy and finding other supports that weren't my family. And without that, I wouldn't have reported. And that's what my family fails to realize. Like I didn't just randomly wake up one day and get the strength. Like I had to have support. I had to have a community of people online. I had to have people telling me like, even if nothing happens, you still want to report, right? So just go for it.
Yeah.
Like do it. What really put me over, like getting over it, was my siblings coming to me, both of them. And I had for years, without actual acknowledging it, without realizing it, I had put a lot on them, like a lot. And I felt like I was taking care of them. But in turn, I definitely made it feel like the reason why I am the way I am, or the reason I can't report, or the reason why I'm going through all of this is because of you guys, because I need to keep your family together. I want you to have a family. I want you guys to have your dad. But I didn't realize in turn that was making them resent me. Because it was like, if you want to do something, go and do it. Stop blaming me. Like, stop saying that I'm the reason for not reporting. Like, just do it, and that they kind of got fed up. So they came to me and they said, if you want to report. Like, stop acting like it's going to ruin our life or that we're not going to see our family again. Then it's the consequences of what they did. And my little sister and my brother, and at the time, my brother's girlfriend, they were both standing on the porch and they said all of that. And just something in my head clicked. It was like, they're right. Like, I'm not helping anyone here. Like, there's no perfect time to report. And that's what I needed to realize, because it was, I'll report once my brother's 18. And then it was, I'll report once my sister's 18. Then it's like, well, I'll report once my sister leaves the house. It's always going to change. Like, something is always going to be in the way. So I just got to the point where I was like, it's probably time. I still wasn't ready to report, but it was time to talk about it. It was time to really share it more,
Did you start therapy before you started sharing it online?
Yeah, so I had actually started therapy because of an attempt on my life. So when I was like 16, I made an attempt because of all the trauma I had gone through. And at the time I was going through some sort of breakup, and it put me over the edge. And I ended up taking some medication, and I ended up getting taken to the hospital. And at that time, I was self-aware. I've been self-aware the entire time that I need help. So I told the social worker there that my mom's not letting me go to therapy. And that was the truth. Whether she wants to say that that's the truth or not, it is. Because I would go to her and I would say I need help. I really need help. I want to die. I don't want to be here anymore. Everything your husband did to me, I need help, truly. And she'd say you can't tell anyone. If you want to talk to somebody, go talk to your grandma about it. That's how I found out that my grandma even knew. She had known for years, and I never knew she knew until my mom was like, oh, just go and talk to her. Don't talk to a therapist. So I during that appointment, I said, my mom is refusing to let me go, but I need to go. Like, I need to. So she put it in the report, basically, like I was required. Like, if they were going to release me from the hospital, I had to find some sort of treatment and go to therapy. So I started therapy, I would say, right at the end of being 16, the beginning of 17. And the first few sessions were just kind of figuring me out, but I didn't want to disclose, like, at all. And I remember I told him that I was sexually abused and I had gone through all this stuff, but because of mandating reporting, I wasn't going to tell him who. That's what I told him.
Right.
And he goes, okay, like, right. And then he kind of like would pry, like, was it a family member and things like that. And I just vaguely, like, this is what I went through, but, I'm not telling you until I'm 18 type of deal. Because I knew, like, my mom had instilled it in me, like, if you tell people this, you're never going to see your siblings again. Like, my stepdad and my mom made that clear. So I was very fearful of any adult, any counselors, teachers, any adults. I didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't want to tell him anything. That kind of went on for a while of me just not telling him. And then I thought I was 18, like being an adult now, but I pulled my therapy records and I didn't even wait until I was 18. I had told him, like, this is what happened with my stepdad and all of this stuff. But there was a report made and, I kind of like grazed over it and stuff. And I know that he didn't mandate report. He didn't report it because I think he knew, like, he trusted that my siblings weren't being abused and that it was like historical stuff. So he let me kind of just share and disclose. And I mean, he's probably a key witness, and like his therapy notes have really helped my case because he took very intensive, like thorough notes of every session.
Did it help sharing all of that with him?
It did, but it also started to like just bring up more.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it was easier to push it all away and have family game nights and have a mom, even if she was trash, and just kind of shove it all down. That was easier. Like, genuinely. Like, losing everything and having to fight for justice and all that, that is the difficult route. But it was the right route. Like, it was the route that I needed for true healing. That was just avoidance. So that's why it was easier. Sharing it, I would say it's like a up and down type of thing. So it will help, and then it will like bring up a lot more feelings, and then but like through the process of sharing my story, it has definitely helped. But I feel like not even so much in like telling it, it's helped more in like getting the feedback back from other people. Like the acknowledgement of like what you went through is tough, but like you're still here. Like, so just keep going. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I needed, because I didn't ever hear that growing up. It was more like, you haven't gone through shit. It's not that big of a deal. Shove it under the rug, like, let's move on. And I think that that's why I struggled with a lot of internalized victim blaming and a lot of putting my feelings onto other survivors and a lot of like downplaying other people's stuff because I downplayed my own. Like, if this horrible stuff with animals and, true torture is so little to me, like everyone else's issues were tiny. Like, you were abused? Like, come on, girl.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? And like, that's the part that made me a bad person, a bad friend, just not a good advocate, not somebody who should even really be online sharing their story, because I was so broken, so hurt. And everyone was just like a target. And nobody was actually targeting me. But I felt like it, because it's like, my mom made me downplay everything for so long. And then I started doing it myself. And it became a pattern, and it carried on for, I would say, until like the last 2 years have when I've been able to truly find like my footing on who I am as a person and not just live in that identity.
And then are you still currently seeing that therapist?
No, I stopped seeing my therapist probably like maybe a year, 2 years after. Maybe even less. I haven't had like the best like insurance and just like things like that have always like made it really difficult.
Yeah.
Also just mental health. Like you think you're okay. So, I don't need a therapist, and then you get busy with life and then you realize you hit a low again and you're like, man, maybe I should have never stopped seeing that therapist,
Yeah.
But I started regularly seeing a therapist like on and off throughout my life. And I never stopped like seeing, I think the longest I've gone without seeing a therapist is probably a year.
Okay.
Since I've been, 16. So I'm not currently seeing a therapist right now, but I'm doing group therapy. So I go and do group therapy twice a month. And that's good for me right now.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. Like I was going to therapy twice a week and that was just too much.
Yeah.
Because I have this trial and all this stuff also. And I think that for survivors, I think a good thing to realize is that like healing and like the modems of healing are like, you're going to need more support during certain times in your life.
Yeah.
And you don't always need therapy, but it's there when you need to go back to it.
And I like the point that you made about like it goes through waves. You might have, and you kind of just have to listen to what you need at that time. Since you started sharing your story, have you had a good amount of people reach out and say that they've been through things similar?
Yeah. So since I shared my story, especially the taboo stuff, I think that brings people to my page specifically. And that's what resonates with a lot of people is that I do share things that maybe people are less likely to talk about. So I feel like I've had a lot of private messages of people who maybe are not ready to share. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of messages. And I mean, I don't post regularly, but I'm still constantly getting messages about old videos or, you've really changed my life. And not only like people that I don't know, but also people I know, like people that were maybe really mean to me in school and things like that, reaching out and thinking like, I'm going to raise my kids differently. I'm really sorry that maybe I was a bully as I didn't realize that like everyone's going through something, and I'm going to teach my kids differently.
Kindness.
So I'm really glad that I came across your page and things like that. And I really do care about the animal sexual abuse stuff. Like me posting about that has really that's basically how I grew my entire platform. Like most of my most liked videos and my most viewed videos are about that. And the comments are saddening. Like I didn't realize how many people had gone through it until I really did start to post it, and not only post it, but like have the videos go viral. Like it's just comment after comment of people saying, like I was going to take this to the grave, like type comments. And those are the ones that really like make me continue to post about it, even if I get horrible messages about whatever type of person I am, and all the hate that you get with posting about taboo topics. It makes it worth it because I know that everyone else was like me at one point. Like they really do feel completely alone. And I know now that it's easier to find resources online now because of me, because of me sharing and then other survivors alike sharing their story. I can actually scroll on my For You page and come across people talking about it now.
Yeah.
And that's big. Like I had somebody who is an advocate in the community create a whole entire fact sheet about animal child sexual abuse and, share it to her platform, for everybody to print it out for free. Like these things are like, they make a huge impact because like I sat there for years thinking I'm so alone in this. I'm disgusting. Nobody's ever gone through this. Typing online, couldn't find the right verbiage. And that's really what it is. It's just I did not have the right verbiage for what I had gone through because it's wrong. Like it's wrong. That's why I call it animal child sexual abuse, because it's like date rape, like you're using a modem to abuse somebody. So it's animal sexual abuse. Like that's what you are doing. What people would refer to it as is forced bestiality or animal rape or all of these terms that I didn't know like in my head. And I don't think that they're accurate. Like animal rape is accurate, but forced bestiality is not.
Yeah.
Because bestiality, by the definition that everybody knows, is being attracted to an animal. Having sexual relations with an animal is the more accurate definition. But as a society, we have made it clear that somebody who's into bestiality is voluntarily doing that. It is consensual. It's a consensual act. So when somebody is saying forced bestiality, it gets confusing because it's like, no, I didn't do that. Like I'm not attracted to any animal. That was forced on me as an object that was sexually abusing me, as like a tool would, it's just a way that somebody sexually abuses you. And if you don't have the right verbiage for it, it gets confusing. And you can like, it minimizes what people have gone through. And it's important that people can just look something up and like find it just like that, like, oh, I'm not alone. Or go to a therapy office and be able to say like, this is what happened to me, and not have every therapist look at you like, I've never heard of that in my life.
Like you have 10 heads. Yeah.
I have never heard of that. And that is another thing that I experienced. Like I didn't want to have to keep going into therapy offices and having to educate them.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And having to tell them like, I don't really know if I'm even comfortable with you being my therapist, because I don't even know if you're comfortable talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is very heavy.
Right.
So like I would have to like constantly be doing that. And that's another thing. Like I love those comments. Like when I get comments from therapists or teachers or things like that that say, I never would have thought of this. I didn't know that this existed. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, because it truly does make a huge difference, and it's
education.
It's even like things like, things that we wouldn't really think that are like a trigger, like somebody who gets made fun of for being afraid of an animal. Like, you don't know why. It might not be that they got ran, down by the street, and they got bit. It could be something much deeper. So that's why we should just maybe pause and realize that people have fears and they have triggers and stuff for reasons. And we don't need to question them. We don't need to pry, And that's another thing that I did with my humor, like doesn't equal like harm playlist on my TikTok. And it really, it's basically about how like we can be humorous and we can be funny without harming people. And that's where we go into like the bestiality jokes and having dogs, lick your genitals with peanut butter and all these like things that everybody has heard. And it's so hee hee ha ha. But when you are somebody who's gone through it, that's your trauma being put on display on TV for everybody or on the comedy sets. Yeah. And everybody's just ha ha ha. And they might not even be laughing because they think it's funny. I don't really think it is. I think they're laughing more of like, like wow factor. Like, oh, that's like gross. Like, ew, like they're uncomfortable kind of laugh. That's not the true humor that we should be tapping into as a society. Like trauma, that's what we want to make humorous. Right. Like abuse of the most vulnerable too.
Yep.
Because animals can't fight back. So it's like, oh, well, it's just a dog or it's just this. That's not though. Like it's so much deeper than that. And that's why I really do like that playlist that I created, because it really does, like, people needed to realize that. And that it's like, whatever that one saying is, like impact versus, whatever. It's your intent versus the impact. Like you might not intend to harm people, but you are.
Yeah.
And they don't, people need to see that and truly get it. I mean, I'm triggered constantly, really healed. Like I'm a very healed person. I openly talk about these things online, like I'm very, open about the sexual abuse I went through with the animal. But even when it pops up and things like that pop up, I still get triggered. Because it's like, why are you guys not realizing that this is like serious?
Yeah.
Like it hurts, like my heart, to know that like it's so trivialized in our society.
It's crazy. And so sickening. And I think that, no matter what the topic is, that it just all goes back to the importance of it being talked about in these types of settings, because there's so many other settings that are they look at it as humorous.
Definitely. And I think that it's also important to, like, as a survivor, if you have the courage to talk about it, because people
use your voice.
They're like, oh, well, whatever. But when you've actually gone through it and you're like, hey, like, let me tell you where this is coming from.
Yeah.
Then people are like, oh.
Also, like the more kind we are, the more willing people will be to share.
Yes.
If everything's minimized and made a joke, people aren't going to want to share.
Right. And then abusers can hide behind it too.
Yes.
And they can just make like little hee hee ha ha jokes.
Right.
But they're actually abusers. So like that's a thing that I also have witnessed. And that's why I have kind of spread more awareness about that. Because my stepdad was a person who everyone in the house knew. Everyone in the house knew that he was into animals. Everyone. All of his kids, my mom, everyone knew. It was a running joke in the family. Like he was a creep, like he watched bestiality. He got caught by my mom watching that on his history. And then my mom said some horrible things to him. And then all of us kids knew. And then there was a movie, Jay and Silent Bob, that everybody had watched in the house. My mom was always letting us watch R-rated movies. So there's a scene in that movie that like throws this guy out of the van and they call him a sheep fucker because he is going to sleep with the sheeps or whatever, more bestiality jokes that shouldn't exist in TV. And I, being the angry kid I am that knows what he has done, that was his nickname. Like I would call him that all the time. Like all the time. My stepsister would call him that. At family get-togethers, we would call him that, And he would watch this type of media, He thought it was so funny. He would make jokes all the time about all this weird stuff, and it was funny to him. So I'm thinking, well, it's hard not to like kind of step back and be like, well, if you're somebody who thinks that's funny, what kind of person are you? Like truly behind closed doors, what kind of stuff are you into if you think this stuff is funny? Because the only person I know who thought this stuff was funny is a monster. So like, if you don't want to be put in the category of the people who are truly doing that stuff, why are you going to sit alongside them and laugh?
Yeah.
It makes you just kind of you're just as bad.
Right. Absolutely. And then at what point did you decide, because you ended up reporting, right? So when was that, a couple years ago?
Yeah, so that was in December of 2023.
Okay.
And before that, in 2021, I made a post on Facebook where all my family is.
Okay.
Because that's where, most of your family's at. So I made a post that said, from these years to these years, I was sexually abused by my parents, and they've, made me keep it private and secret, it's not helping anything. So here I am telling my story finally so that I can, whatever. And then a bunch of my family commented on it and were just, blown away and surprised and all of that. And then after that, that's when I started posting on TikTok more regularly. Okay. Through all of that, I met my ex-wife, and we met in 2020. And at the time I was living with my parents. And so we met, and so all of this is going on while, like, I decided to post on Facebook while I'm with my ex-wife. And then we end up at some point moving out and getting our own house because during the time that I had posted on TikTok and stuff, a private investigator was hired at my stepdad's work. They did a whole investigation. They contacted me. I told them the truth about everything that had happened to me, and they let him go. At first, they demoted him. Then a second investigation was opened later on. They completely fired him. But because of that, we had to leave their house. They couldn't afford their rent. They had to leave. So we ended up leaving and getting our own house. And that gave me more time to clear my head. Yeah. Because I was finally away from them, which was the first time in forever that I had truly taken time away. And through that time, I realized reporting is something I'm going to do, but I don't know when. And I was kind of just kind of feeling it out, kind of figuring out when the right time was. There's no perfect time. And that is when my siblings told me, just do it. We're so tired of this. And then I kind of faced I'm going to do this. At some point or another, I'm going to do this. And during that private investigation, he worked through the Carpenters Union. Okay. So it was really big. He was a rep. He was a very big head person. He made good money. And he was in the Carpenters Union for years. So it was a very big deal. So after all of that, the lawyers on the union contacted me along with the private investigator to tell me that they were firing him, to give me a heads up. And he's going to be upset at you most likely because, all this. Yeah. So just so you know. And then one of the lawyers told me over the phone, they said that, I don't know, I'm not trying to tell you what to do or anything, but he's cold. He just looks at me so cold. He never did this. He's just looking at me just lying. Right. And we believe you. So I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I don't think that he's a good guy. I would report it. That's what he told me. He goes he's literally sitting here telling me that you lied. And that just put me over the edge because throughout all of the years, my stepdad admitted it. If I wanted him to talk about it or, whatever, he would say yeah, and we would just talk about it. It was a very open thing in the family. It just didn't make sense. No, because behind closed doors, you say that I'm a liar.
Yeah.
So let's find out who's really a liar. Like that's kind of where I was at. And he needed to prove his innocence. If he wanted to go around saying that I was a liar, I was done. I was so done. I just couldn't tell any more family members that I had lied about it anymore. I wasn't going to tell any private investigator that all my TikToks were lies. Like that's crazy because that's not true.
He stripped, I mean, they stripped so much of your life away, you know, and that's not even to be like, oh, you deserve this because of that. But that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. I mean, when you commit crimes, there's consequences to those crimes. When you speed on the road, you get a ticket. You know, like when you sexually abuse kids, there needs to be true consequences, and they should not be 26 years later.
And what you're going to openly talk about it at home, but then when it affects you and your money, then it's a lie.
Right. When it affects how you look. It's all a lie. But he never took into consideration how crazy that makes me look. If I'm going on TikTok for years talking about all this stuff that didn't happen, what type of person am I? And he really did try and get me to lie to that private investigator. Like he said, I don't want to lose my job, you know, like the whole guilt trip thing, you know? And I played it. Oh, I'm not going to tell her anything, you know, I'll admit it, you know, whatever, I'll do whatever you need. Because that's fear. You know, I was never brave enough to be like, yeah, I'm going to report your ass. Like, I would never tell him that. I was so scared of just everything. I mean, my medical insurance was through them. I still was tied to them. So I was very scared. But like I said, just something in my head snapped. And even after I had reported, like when I realized, oh, I made the call, like there's no going back now. I mean, there was going back, but I had already done it. Like it was done. Like it took a lot for me to just sit there. Like I remember I could not sleep right or eat right or anything for at least 2 weeks because I was that like so much anxiety, so much anticipation waiting for these detectives to reach out to me because the cop made it very clear they were going forward with what I had told him was mind-boggling. He was telling the detectives, you know, and they were getting on it. So it was just very scary for me. So like I was sitting on the toilet having like bad, you know, my stomach was messed up for weeks, and it just continued to just be so stressful until I really like started to the pieces started to fall into place. But I reported in December of 2023, right after the day after I got off the phone with that lawyer that said, oh, he's horrible, he's lying, he says you're a liar. So it was already in the afternoon. I had decided I'm calling tomorrow. My ex-wife was gone, like she wasn't even home. And I said, I'm going to make the report. So I didn't really know how to go about it, but I had an idea of like what to do. So like there's multiple ways you could do it. You could go down to the police station. You know, I was told a bunch of different things, but I didn't really know for sure. So I called the non-emergency number in my town. They told me to call the non-emergency number for like where it happened. Mm-hmm. So I called the non-emergency in the town that it happened, and the dispatch obviously answered first. And then she asked me what I wanted or like what I was calling for. And I told her that I needed to talk to a cop to report historical child sexual abuse. And she said, oh, okay. Sounds good. And then I would say probably like 3 hours later, I was sitting there waiting and waiting. The cop finally called me, and he told me to just basically tell him everything that happened. And that's extremely difficult. I didn't know where to start. My story was all over the place. Just like there was no end, no beginning. Yeah. It was just everywhere. But he got as much information as he needed. And then he told me, you have to call the other city that you lived in and report it again.
Yeah, right.
All of the stuff that happened in the other city. I don't want to hear any of that. Just tell me what happened in this city and then call. And I was like, okay. So I get off the phone with him. I'm exhausted at this point, and I have to make another report. So I decided to do that the next day. And so my ex-wife was home, and I have clips of me like reporting, which is like cool to look back on now and see how much growth I have, reached. I was shaking and I was just so scared. But I ended up making that call, and that's kind of the call that actually like put everything together, because a lot of the abuse happened in Gresham, Oregon, which was the city over from Portland. So the way that they do it, it's like whatever. You have to tell the story in each place.
And I'm sure each place handles things like that very differently.
Yes. Some of them even don't even have victim, like advocates. Like this one city didn't, and then this city did. So I was a very strong self-advocate at this time. I had already been posting, I was 23, about to be 24. So I told them, I am not doing that. I'm not going down to your town and telling you, and I'm not going down there and telling you. I'm going to tell it one time. You guys can come together and sit next to each other and do what you got to do. I'm not doing that.
And that's something that I think probably so many victims struggle with. And they end up not telling their story because they don't want to have to keep telling it and telling it.
Well, because you've already had to tell the cop on the phone. I had to tell the cop again, everything that happened in Gresham. And then you have to go and tell the detectives. But not one, now two. Like I was so over it. I was like, I've already told my story twice now. You're wanting me to tell it twice again. Like, I'm not doing that.
Can you just watch my TikTok?
Literally, please. Like,
Take notes.
Just watch it. Like, I don't have time for this. Yeah. So I end up having them meet up together, which they had to coordinate it with themselves. I wasn't dealing with none of that.
Right.
So they ended up coming together. And through whatever investigation, everything that they did, they decided to just kind of like tie it all to Portland. Okay. So it's not Gresham's case, it's Portland's case, which is fine because they give me an advocate and everything. So Portland took over the whole case, and they're basically doing it like from the ages where I lived there and kind of like whatever. I don't know how they're doing it, but they made it work into where it's just one case. Okay. And then there's still the case that my aunt opened, sitting there too. Yeah. It's like they'll put like what other cases are attached to this one, and there's like a bunch. There's even a federal case that was open just to make sure that he wasn't doing anything like federal crimes, So it's a lot that goes into it. And when I went and told my story to the detectives, I had to drive down there and tell them, and it took hours. I would say probably 9 hours of my time.
Wow.
Like just because they need to know every detail. Yeah. Every single detail. They need to know every witness, any childhood friend that you've ever told. I mean, it goes on forever. I mean, when you've been abused once, it takes a lot to explain it, let alone as many times as I was. So I'm trying to explain all of this. And by the time it all ends, they think that they have about like 6 charges that they can move forward with, that they were going to present to the DA. So they get their case together. That takes about a year. And then it takes them probably another year or 6 months to present it to the DA.
Jeez.
Yeah. And by the time it's presented to the DA, I mean, I'm angry. So during this whole time, I'm like trying to get answers from my mom and trying to just kind of piece together everything that happened because I know like what's going on. Like I'm going to report. And obviously my parents know that I have reported at this point. Okay. So my mom is like very angry, like I start getting stipulations like, oh, you can't come to the house unless it's 6 p.m. and I'm there. Like all kinds of weird stuff and just really strange stuff. Like her saying like acting one way and then saying another thing like, oh, like do what you need to do to heal, but then don't do anything you needed to heal actually because that's going to impact my life. So I at that point became very, very angry at my mom and started like texting her a lot and just freaking out like all the time. Like, why wouldn't you be a good mom? I just message her at 5 a.m. and just be like, just good morning. Just wanted to remind you that you're a crap mom, like just stuff like that. And that catapulted into me like having charges pressed against me by my mom. She put a protective order against me. And then I broke that protective order and texted my little sister. So like while I'm going through all of this, I'm going through other stuff. Yeah. Like as it's going on, which is leading to me being more stressed out. And it's just harder to tell my story and harder to go forward with all of this.
And it takes so long. You're just like waiting.
Yeah. So during all of that, I'm just like, maybe I don't want to actually do this, like lots of back and forth. And that's what I want people to know too, that like, it might seem like I stand strong and all of that online, but you do post like your best moments or your best times, even through posting child abuse awareness and stuff. It's still like not my present, not exactly how I'm feeling all the time. So I think that it's important to know that like through these things, it's okay to be weak at times. Like it's okay to be like, to want to go back and to be like, maybe this isn't for me. And I think that that's also a part of just knowing that it's the right thing for you. Like you have to question, like,
And prepare yourself
Yes.
of like that it can take
right. And also
years.
prepare yourself that it could take years and they might decide to drop your case, or they might decide to take a plea even though you said you didn't want to, or whatever. I mean, through the process, I've been treated fairly good, I would say. Like my experience, I feel like I've been treated fairly and I've been treated, really good for what the system can offer. It's been extremely traumatic. So I don't know how people go through it when the DA is an asshole to them, or, they're not believed by the detectives. Like I couldn't imagine that added to just the already feelings I have of just telling my story and thinking that they're not believing me, even though they are, and things like that. So when I look at other people's stories and like that they tried to report and like the DA was against them or stuff, that stuff really hurts. And like, that's partly why I am fighting so hard too. Because it's like justice for everyone. Like the more people that come forward and the more people that make it like show this is not okay, more DAs that do take cases and do put these people away, not for 10 years, but for 40 more,
Forever.
life, like at least something that is
I've
actually
always said
feasible, like something that I can like be like, that was justice,
I've always said
not giving them pleas.
Yeah. And anything that involves animals or children, there should be no ands, ifs, or buts. Like it should be.
Especially when you have stacked evidence against you.
Yeah.
Like beyond a reasonable doubt, we know you did this. Like, go away for life. It should be like a minimum of life.
Yes.
And it's just, that's not the reality. I think that, a lot of people probably are predators themselves, or they apologize for them. They're rapist apologists and things like that. And those are the judges. Those are the DAs. Those are the detectives. So when you try to go and tell those people your story, they're automatically biased. They're automatically like, no, that didn't happen to you, like things like that. And I definitely got lucky. I definitely got lucky with it also being a major city. So they are more trauma informed. They have more means to be educated and have certain trainings and stuff, whereas a small town might not have had that. So I did get lucky in the sense of having an advocate and having those things that other people do not have the privilege of having. And that has still been a really hard process, like significantly hard. And like I told my story to the detectives, and it didn't just end there, like they make you do a lot of the work. Like a lot of the leg work is on the survivor. Like, can you get us your therapy notes? Can you give us the old phones that you had in your childhood? Can you bring us your phone and have it plugged in for 9 hours and not be able to use it so we can take everything off of it? Like it's a lot of me putting in a lot of effort and energy to get justice when it should be, I think, the detectives doing more of the legwork, but they don't. And then it's like, now you got all of that, but we need you to come in again so that you can try and trap your abusers on a recorded line. Like it's always something more that they need from you. And that I didn't realize when I was reporting. I thought it was just going to be like, oh, I reported, tell my story. It's kind of just okay. And then we moved to trial. It wasn't like so much.
And it's still going on right now?
Yes. So like I had my first grand jury, I believe a year ago.
Okay.
And I went to grand jury, which is like basically it was a silent grand jury, which typically happens with any felonies.
Okay.
So they're not notified. Like my stepdad didn't know or anything. And it's like a panel of 12 people and they're like unanimously picked and a part of the community. And you go in there and it's like a room like this and you just tell everything that happened.
So you had to tell it again?
Yes.
To strangers?
To all 12 of these people who are supposed to like keep a straight face and stuff, but human nature.
How long did that take?
So it's hard. So I would say because like the way that they frame it and stuff, and the DA will ask you like specific questions and stuff, it probably takes about like 40 minutes or so.
Okay.
To tell everything. And then, so I did that and, I was like playing with Play-Doh and it melted in my hands and like mixed with my tears. Like it was beyond traumatic, that first grand jury. It was supposed to be the only grand jury. But then a law changed. Basically, you can't try people for historical child sexual abuse without exact dates because their defense can't make a case to protect them. and
Even if you're a child that doesn't know the dates?
Right. So they need exact dates and times that it happened, or they can't move forward. So the DA called me a couple days before my birthday, or a week before my birthday this year, and told me we can't move forward on it because the grand jury I ended with 12 charges. That's what they moved forward with. Instead of the 6 the detectives came up with, they decided, oh no, it's 12, through everything that I said. And then he called me and he said, we can't move forward with any of the 12, but we can move forward with 3 out of those 12. He said, if you want to just move forward with the 3, we can. We'll still go to trial just on those 3, but it's not a lot. It's not like what we're wanting. It's not my goal. My goal is to get him away forever,
Yeah.
So I decided that I was going to just do it again. So I had to go back to grand jury to a different set of 12 people, new 12 people.
And that one was more recent?
Yes, that was just last month.
Okay.
And I had told them the whole story again. And we were hoping to just try and get those 12 charges again, And we ended up leaving with 18.
Wow.
Yes. So through me going back in my memory and trying to figure out everything. And basically what I did was I tried to figure out when I was in school and when I wasn't. And then that makes it to where it's from September to June.
Okay.
That kind of narrows it down. And then you can decide, oh, well, it was sunny.
Mm-hmm.
We live in Oregon. It's never sunny unless it's like these types of months. So they can kind of narrow it down more.
Okay.
Or like during this time, it was like my birthday, like major events so that they know. Or like when I was sexually abused that time, I remember my teacher was Miss whatever. And then they can go back and they can figure out what year that was.
Okay.
Or I lived in that apartment at that year for sure. Like through these years, I was at that apartment. So basically with everything, I added to the story that, they needed extra details this time. We left with more charges, which is great. They're more serious charges too. Like it's, originally he was being charged with, I believe, 1 count of rape, 1 count of sodomy, 1 count of child exploitation, with online, digital stuff, 1 count of the animal cruelty, which then it has a hyphen and it says sexual abuse. And then I think 5 charges of just sexual abuse and another 5 charges of that. It was a whole plethora of things. And now it's more 4 counts of rape, 4 counts of sodomy, all in the first degree, 1 count of, it's very serious now.
So that was a month ago. And then how soon after do they turn around and charge him?
So basically the first grand jury that happened, they move forward with the 12 charges and then it goes straight to the judge.
Okay.
And then the judge signs off on a warrant and then they issue a warrant for him and then he hid. He knew that there was a warrant out for him. He was notified that there was a warrant out and he didn't turn himself in for at least 3 months until he was kind of pressured by friends to turn himself in or something. So he turns himself in, I think in June or something of last year. And then he bailed out on $25,000. So the state had asked for a $50,000 or $500,000 bond or bail. And then you have to pay 10% of that, which would have been $50,000. The judge was nice and gave him $250,000. So he only had to pay $25,000. Someone paid it. He managed to pay it. So he got out. And they put him...
He's been out since June.
And they put him on an ankle monitor and supervision and all of that. But he still walks free, It's just whatever. And then when I went back to the grand jury, they basically, they re-indict you. So because there was more charges, he had to go back to an arraignment and be go through the process again. So he had to go to court and I showed up, but they basically said all the same stipulations are the same and they didn't add any bail time or anything.
So he didn't have to pay again?
No.
So he's still out?
Yes.
Well, when will he be?
And it's been over 90 days too that he's been good, on his probation or whatever. So when you've been good, I guess they can drop your level of protection. So instead of level 3, if he does whatever his parole officer, his probation officer wants, they'll drop it down and make him check in less.
So
even though he's waiting for a trial for serious offenses.
Okay, so then do you know when the trial will be?
The trial was supposed to start in May, and then something happened to where he had to get new lawyers, so it's now pushed back until July.
Okay.
So that they can go over all of the evidence.
So
but once the trial starts, it's supposed to just take 1 week.
Okay.
And
then hopefully he's charged and put away.
And over.
Is your mom involved at all? Or did you just focus it on him?
Basically, the DA was like, there wasn't enough evidence.
Okay.
So they're waiting to find out if they can charge her with complicity and things like that after trial.
Okay.
Like once they prove that he did that, then they can prove that she was complicit in it. But if they haven't even proven that he's guilty, it's hard to charge her with complicity, I guess. Like there's just a lot of like hoops that they have to jump through it all. And there is a lot more evidence. Like there is a significant paper trail that like my stepdad left online of him doing inappropriate things and just, he wasn't very careful about a lot of things. And I also think that's partly to blame like my mom, because she would go through like his stuff online and instead of like fully deleting the accounts, he would just like have to get off of it. You know, so a lot of these weird things that were like rape forums and like places where he would watch that bestiality or, you know, the child abuse stuff, whatever, he would have like make profiles on these things and they're still active. Like they're still like, even though he wasn't on them, they're still there. So the police see this.
Did you get him to admit on a phone call? Well?
On the none of the police phone calls worked. They never answered because they knew that they were already reported. Like,
gotcha.
They were hush after that. They were like, we're not saying anything. Yeah, we know that you told. But before that, I had like a conversation with my stepdad because what came of it was that he would cry all the time. Like he would just cry randomly. And that would just irritate me so bad. I'd be like, why are you crying? Like just ew. Like no. So basically my brother had came downstairs and he had told me like he's up there like selling his motorcycle or something. And he's like crying because he says he wants to be a better dad or something. So I, of course, you know, I go upstairs, but I had turned on my video and I had recorded and I had like basically what the conversation was supposed to just be like, you know, you're not a victim here, so stop crying. Like my brother came down and told me like, you're making him uncomfortable because you're like crying. Yeah. But you're not, you know, like what's wrong with you, you know? So we kind of like go into this big heated conversation and it goes on for like 22 minutes. And throughout that conversation, he basically alludes to like the things that he's done and that he's told his therapist or whatever else, you know, and it's a bad video, like for him. Yeah. Like I turned it into the detectives and everything, and it just doesn't look good, you know? Yeah. It's damning evidence against him, just stacked up, you know, on top of my whole family. Yeah. Like at one point, him telling them that he did it. Right. So it's like the whole family thinks you did it. You told them that. You know, like we all were in a mediation at one point in the living room crying about it. So how do all of these adults, like they're going to go up on the stand and lie for you? Yeah. Like, no, like it just doesn't add up. Like why he even is trying to fight tooth and nail and say he's not guilty. I don't get it. I mean, obviously that's what his lawyers are advising or whatever, but I don't think that it's going to help him at all because it's just that damning. And my mom was smarter. Like all the crimes that my mom committed against me, like by herself, like for the people who do not know my story, the sexual abuse with my stepfather started with my mom partaking when I was 5 years old. From my memory, I was about 5. And then she only partaken one time, the first time that I can remember. And then my stepdad just sexually abused me until I was about 13. Well, then after 13, it ended. And I remember at one point just saying like, we were broke, you know, we ate out of food boxes and stuff like that. I think it was more them not, you know, budgeting well. They had everything they needed, you know, and all the fun. But we were broke, and at one point I wanted like school clothes or something, and my mom brought up some idea that I could meet up with this guy and take pictures, and if I did that, he'd give me money. And it was more set up like modeling. That's kind of how she made it seem. And I would say until I reported my stepdad and everything and told the detectives what had happened to me, I didn't really care. Like it didn't bother me. Like it didn't affect me. It just felt like something weird that happened. I wasn't touched is how I kind of rationalized it. Yeah. It was better than what happened to me with my stepdad is how I felt at the time.
Pictures were taken of you.
Yeah. So
Naked?
my mom took me to that man's house,
Okay.
and on multiple occasions she was there. But then it started to be just me going over there alone. And he lived in a like really, really big sky high building, like condo. He was rich, you know.
Yeah.
He was the owner of this club in Portland that was a swingers club that my mom was very active at. But apparently she had known this man since she was 19. And he is significantly older than her. You know, I was 14 and he was 47 when we had this, you know, encounter. So she took me over to his house, and he was very, you know, in the club that he owned was called Club Sesso. It's now shut down, but it was owned with Ron Jeremy. Like that was the co-owner, which is, for people who don't know, he's in prison, or he's being held in like a mental facility now on multiple counts of sexual abuse. Like through his whole entire career, he sexually abused women, and he is a porn star, a very well-known one. And this is his friend that my mom is taking me to, this man's house. And she, at first, it's very like, I'm wearing basically something like this, like jeans and a little shirt, but it was a T-top, so it was kind of lower. And I wasn't developed at the time or anything. I was very tiny, flat-chested. And he had me like pose on his bed, fully clothed, but had me like push up my chest and like told me to just do certain things. And it was really weird. Like it was awkward, I would say that. But my mom was there, and I remember I kept looking towards her, you know, and that was kind of like it was whatever, like my mom's here, it's fine kind of thing. That went on multiple times, but then every time, so like it would start with grooming and then end with the photos. So like the grooming would be like, I'm going to take you to lunch. We're going to go on a shopping spree. You can buy whatever you want.
Okay.
But then you have to model in everything that you bought. That type of thing. So there's always like, he has to get something out of it. So he would take me and my mom shopping at like Victoria's Secret and all over the place, you know, and then I'd have to go back. And then it progressively got more intense. Like the first time I was in my clothes. Then the second time it's like, okay, well, why don't you wear these like little shorts and this bralette? And then it got more intense. And then it became more like, spread your legs completely open in like a thong that's, you know.
A string.
Yeah. And all the while I'm 14. 14 years old. And a lot of this is happening with my mom and they're watching it. During each session, if that's what you want to call it, every time I was abused there was always discussion about like what was going to happen next. Like, oh, well, next time we'll do like a shower shoot, or next time we'll rent a place that has a pool and we'll do photos in the pool. And I remembered progressively getting like more uncomfortable and just feeling like icky. Like that's the only way I could really explain it. Like I just kind of felt sick to my stomach. Like, oh, this is kind of weird, you know? But, oh, my mom's there. It's fine. And then he was going through the photos one time that he had taken with my mom. He's like, do you want to see them or whatever? And I went over there. I wasn't really caring too much about the photos, but my mom was definitely looking at them and everything. And she at one point witnesses, like she's in the picture because there's a mirror. So it shows her reflection and she loses it. Like, you can't get me in any of these photos. If you get me in any, like, and she's just very, very upset. And then that's when it starts to connect to me. Like, oh, what we're doing is wrong. This isn't legal. You know, like, because it's modeling, you know, it's whatever. Like, it's a little weird, but, you know, it's nothing. I've gone through worse. You know, that's how I'm framing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been touched. This is great. I can just sit here. Nobody's bothering me. You know, like, it's fine.
Right.
Now, it's something I can't get over because it's like those photos are still somewhere and I don't know where they are. I don't know how many people has seen them. I don't even know how much money was made off of me. Like it was. I mean, she trafficked me. That's what it was. She took my body and used it for profit to pay her bills, to get me things she didn't want to buy me with her own money. And it was just like luxury gifts too. Like an iPad that she still has to this day, like bought by him. Like anything, like her whole PGE bill, he'd pay, like her power bill. Like anything she needed, he would do at the cost of what? Trafficking your own child. Like it's beyond my ability to get over now at this point.
Do you think your stepdad knew about that?
I do not believe so because she would always tell me like, don't tell your stepdad.
Yeah.
And I think that was partly because, not because she was scared of what she was doing, but like because he was a person who did not want to share me, like ever.
Yeah.
Like it was very weird. Like throughout all of the abuse, he made it pretty clear that like he didn't want me to be with anyone else. Like he didn't want me to have a girlfriend or do anything at all. Play with anyone outside, nothing. Like I was just his. I feel like if he knew that my mom was doing that, he probably would have been very upset.
Yeah.
Like in whatever weird way he was. And like it just made it worse because they both have the same name. Like the man that she brought me to, they're both named Paul.
Okay.
So it's like I have this like trigger now with people. I'm like, I don't like Pauls. Like you probably are all creeps. Like I know you're not, but like that's what like that's my prejudgment. And it's just like it's hard to like realize that like not only, and that's why I can't view her as a victim. Like my mom will never be a victim in my eyes. Because even if she were a victim to my stepdad,
she did that on her own.
She did things on her own and she told me to hide them from him.
Yeah.
So it felt like she was very voluntarily doing this stuff on her own accord. She knew what she was doing and she put me in severe danger because not only did she go with me, but she allowed me to go to his house alone. And I started to kind of realize like, oh, well, if I want something, if I want $300, I just go and take some pictures. It's whatever. You know, you start to rationalize things. You start to normalize them because it's just your everyday. But then when you heal and you look back on it, you're like, what was I doing? Mm-hmm. Like, and that's what comes with a lot of shame and self-blame and stuff, because when we're kids, we are technically making decisions for our own, like ourselves, but we're not, because we're not old enough to even consent to that type of behavior or those types of things. And we have parents and our guardians who are like, yeah, just do it. Mm-hmm. So then you grow up and you're like, why was I putting myself in all of these like horrible situations? Why was I the one who was initiating these things? Like, why did I think it was okay? And it's because that's how deep these things go. Like your brain completely gets wired differently. You know, like I have a whole personality disorder now because of what happened to me. Like if people would have just not abused me and been nice, just treated me good, it could have avoided a whole entire rewiring of somebody's brain. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's completely unfair. You can't go back and rewire your brain differently. You know, you just have to live with the brain you have that these monsters created. And it's not fair at all. And then people like my mom who have done horrible crimes, they didn't have any evidence. So it's just whatever, you know, she just gets to go live her life. She gets to be a mom to my sister and live in whatever little fantasy world she wants to live in.
So your sister still lives with her? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my little sister is about to be 18 and she still lives with her. And then in whatever sick world, like my mom is genuinely a sick, broken person. Like I'm not even going to be nice, you know, like she is genuinely a monster, like they are. But when, I don't know, at some point during this process, 2021 to now, my uncle got out of prison for like some sort of crime. And this is my stepdad's brother.
Okay.
And through the whole time of him being in prison, which was 8 years, apparently him and my mom were having some sort of love affair. Mm. So she separated from my stepdad during the time of me reporting. They're still married legally, but they're now separated. And she's with my uncle.
Now?
Yes. So they are together and
okay.
Yeah, have some sort of, I don't know if it's a partnership or if they're like, I truly don't know because I'm not there. Maybe they even broke up by now. Right. Like, I don't know. The last I heard, they were living together and basically raising my sister. Like,
so you don't speak to her and you don't speak.
No, since the protective order was placed, I just have left it. I don't think I will ever reach out to my little sister unless she reaches out to me. And I'd prefer her be like 21, or my mom be passed. Like, that's really the only hope I see with me and my siblings ever making amends.
Same with your brother?
Is their mother passing away, like our mom dying, or like them facing reality and not being a part of her life. But I refuse to associate with anyone who undermines what I went through or acts like she's some changed woman. She's not. You can't. I mean, even if you have changed or you've grown up or you realize that what you did is wrong, you still have to face consequences.
Beyond.
Yeah. And I mean, we were taught that.
Right.
I mean, I was taught that growing up. That's why it didn't make sense. Like I was always told, like, if you mess up, you be honest, you face the consequences. Like, that's what I had to do in the house. Like, if I did something wrong in the house, there was gonna be consequences for sure. But there was never any for them, which doesn't add up. And that's, I think, something that my little brother has struggled with too. Like the idea that the life that we lived is false. Like it was a front. Like all of the values they taught us or the morals they tried to instill in us were not their own. Yeah. It was false. And that's hard. It's hard to step back and realize, like, man, I was lied to. Like my whole life was a lie. Like you tried to make me this man, like this man who loves women and cares about women, but you're abusing my sister. Like that was really hard for my brother to grasp. And he fell into drug use and a lot of difficulties. I blame them. I truly blame them for everything that has happened and transpired with my siblings having difficulties. It goes back to them.
Now, does your stepsister talk to your stepdad anymore?
So my stepsister's actually been like the one family member who's like never waived her support. Like it's never waived like sides, like wavered sides, like ever. She's stayed true to like me.
Okay.
Like good. It's just, I don't think she's ever really had any conversations with them since like really finding out, outside of like me inviting her over for Christmas when I lived there and her coming because she, but she would tell me like, I can't even make eye contact with these people. Like I can't look at him in his eyes. I can't.
Good.
And it's hard because a lot of my siblings were like, didn't have a dad because he was so busy abusing me. That's how they viewed it. Like, hey, dad, come play the football. Like, come pass the football outside with me. Oh, no, because I'm abusing your sister. I can't do that. Hey, come and see me for the weekend. I haven't seen you in months, dad. Like, let's go out to lunch. No, I don't, because he's so busy with me. In their eyes, they didn't know why that was. They just thought I was favored, the special kid, the kid that gets everything they want. And that hurts. Like you don't understand it when you're a child. You just see your stepsister getting this treatment by your biological dad that you're not getting. Mm-hmm. And you just want to be loved by your dad. So like, that's just like so horrible. Like he hurt everybody in that house. Like he let everybody down. Even if he didn't sexually abuse them, you were a dad to her. You weren't a dad to my other siblings. So you're a failure. Yeah. And that's another thing I don't get. Like he would always just cry all the time and be like, oh, I just want my family back. I always just wanted my family. But he had a family and he destroyed it. He did everything he could, not once, not twice. And then like, oh, I realize I'm a horrible person. Let me go get help. You did it through a span of years, hundreds, thousands of times. You had, the choice in all of those times to be like, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. Never, nothing ever told him to stop. Nothing at the time when he was sexually abusing me told me, oh, my family. That was only after you were caught. Mm-hmm. And that's just difficult to grasp. Like, I don't want to hear your waterworks or your tears. That adds to my anger.
So now you're just waiting, basically.
Yeah, it's just a waiting game until July.
Okay.
And just basically focusing on my healing and stuff. But it's been hard, like truly. Yeah. Like I still am very unhealed, I'm very broken as a person. I'm still like putting the pieces back together regularly. Mm-hmm. And that's at 26. Yeah. And I feel really like behind in life at times. And because I got married young and then divorced and it's amicable, but there's a lot of pain and trauma that, and things that transpired in my marriage, and I think that I have realized that like a lot of things are a pattern of just like a lot of domestic violence and a lot of things that were normalized that I just don't want to continue on. Yeah. And I think that that's why me and my ex-wife made the decision to kind of separate, even if there was love there, and then we ended up getting a divorce. But I mean, throughout that marriage, it was extremely difficult to go through all of this because she had her own mental illnesses and stuff. Since the divorce, I moved back to my hometown. Okay. So I moved states back, but that was great because I got to leave where my mom lived. Because before I was running into her all the time, and that was so triggering. So now I live back in my hometown, and I'm staying with family.
Okay,
So
good.
I don't have my own place or anything. So that's one thing that like is difficult.
So
And
the
like,
family you're with now, they're supportive of everything?
yeah, the person that I'm living with is my grandpa
Okay.
on my dad's side, like, but he's not my dad's dad. He's like
Okay.
my step grandpa. But I'm staying there temporarily, but I can't even have my cat there with me. So like just things are like, you know, still difficult. And that is something that I kind of want to make clear through this, like this opportunity that I have, that although I have made it very far, it's still lifelong. Like there are a lot of people who don't even face what they went through until they're older than me. So it's a lot of like, I feel like I'm having to completely restart my life, but I don't even really know who I am because I only was in survival for so long, you know? And every single relationship I've gotten into has had problems with violence or yelling, screaming, you know, all of these things are just, they're what I seen growing up and what I continue to carry on. And I'm responsible in a lot of it. Like a lot of why my relationships fail are because of me. Like I play a very big part in it, of not taking care of my mental health and, you know, like depending on people a lot to take care of me or save me. And I'm really trying to, after my divorce, like find my footing of like true independence, like making it all the way out here by myself and stuff is a huge thing, you know, like just being an adult and not feeling like I need to jump into relationship after relationship so that I'm not alone. Like I'm still healing that part of me. And I'm always told like, oh, you're so brave, you're so strong, you know, and I do put that out there, but I'm still working towards that, like being truly who I want to be.
Yeah. And I think too, it's hard because every day is different.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like you'll have days where you feel those things and you feel strong. And then you have days where you probably feel like, why am I still here?
Yeah. And I think that other survivors who have had trauma with their mothers can relate. It's like a very deep type of like confusion, I guess, of like the person who brought you into the world doesn't love you. Well, then maybe I'm not lovable and things like that. And I think that we have to work really hard to like realize that although our mother didn't love us, that's not because of us. Like, you know, they're just
Two different people.
Yeah. And I have definitely struggled with like getting with bad people and then thinking, well, it's because, you know, like nobody can love me. Like my own mom couldn't love me. So why would anyone else, you know, and like getting into these really deep, dark thoughts. And I struggled with it a lot. Like this past relationship I got into was just terrible. And it's just, you know, red flag after red flag, but you're so desperate to feel loved instead of pouring that love into yourself, which I have starting to realize that I need to do. And that it makes me feel a lot better when I, you know, block the contact and not feed into it anymore and realize, you know, my nervous system is telling me that this is not healthy. You know, I'm going to take a step back. Being able to do those things is really big for me because I have been so dependent on everyone around me constantly.
And it's so interesting how you can be so self-aware and strong when it comes to sharing your story, but you still, you know, the way that the human brain works, we still take these years of lived experiences and almost repeat in a way these cycles because that's all we knew. You know, it's almost like you have to give yourself time to relearn and relearn again and again, and even on your own in a completely different situation in order to break those patterns. And that's why things just trickle down, and it's heartbreaking.
And when you've also been like around such bad people, like even the bare minimum feels like so great. Like I'm over the moon. Like somebody's like doing barely anything for me.
But to you, it's
feels so great because your whole childhood was lacking. You know, like you had no love. You don't really even have maybe an idea of it. You know, I've really struggled with that. Like for the longest, I connected sex with love. Like if this person loves me, they have to be having sex with me. That doesn't make sense because you can love your friends, you love your family members, you know, like there is love without that. So like when I would get in these relationships and I'd be like, no, we haven't had sex. You don't love me. Like there's no way you do. Like you're not feeling good today, but you don't love me. Like it has to be that. And then I would just fall into these cycles of like sleeping with a bunch of people because I was wanting to fill this void of love, but that's not love. And like it takes a lot of like going through things to really realize like, oh wait, I've been trying to fill this void this whole time, but I don't think that's really working. Like look at where I'm at now, you know? Like it's just, yeah, I mean, the whole time of me like trying to figure out who I am has definitely been me messing up, like just messing up and messing up.
And that's okay.
And just learning from it.
And, you know, we're in this short time that we're here on earth. I think that we are constantly evolving. Sometimes that might be us moving backwards, but then we evolve forward again. And it's okay to change who you are as many times as you need to, you know? And I think that where you're at in your journey now is kind of building and rebuilding your own identity just in your own bubble.
Right.
Without anything else. And it's okay. I always say too, it's like, of course, what we've gone through and our experiences, they do help shape us, and they give us these different strengths and sometimes weaknesses and everything else in between, but they don't have to define us. And I think that we can't really find ourselves and know who we are until we take that time alone and that silence within ourselves just to figure out who do I want to be? Who am I? What am I working toward? All these different things, you know, and it's challenging. That's not easy because we can think it and tell ourselves that, but we're so used to these patterns and routines that we're in, that and these habits, that it makes it hard to it takes time to.
Yeah, and it's scary.
It is
because it's all unfamiliar. So it's scary. I mean, simple things like not as much anymore, but like when I first got a divorce, like just going to the store or like just this figuring out what I'm going to eat, you know, it's like, it's so much different when it's by yourself.
Yes.
When you've been married for years, it's like, we did everything together. Like, how am I going to do anything alone? But then I'm also sitting back and I'm like, well, I felt alone the entire marriage. So that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you're like, it's like this constant battle of like conflicting things. And it makes it harder when you have complex trauma to navigate through any relationship, any work, school. I mean, all of it. I've struggled. Like I went to college and I, you know, get my associate's degree and stuff like that. But I always end up like leaving, or it gets too stressful, or something comes up. And like with work, you know, you finally find a stable job and it's all great. And then they close down, you know, like it's like you can build your life back up, but that isn't certain. And that's hard because it's like, it's so hard for somebody normal, like whatever normal is, to get their life on track, let alone somebody who is like, you know, broken, like you have had all of these things happen to you and then get your life together and still just have life happen. Like life still happens, like shit still happens, you know, cars still break down, things still happen. And it's just that much harder to navigate it when you have a personality disorder or you have no mom to call and be like, what do I do in this situation? You know, like it's just a lot of different things. Everyone has their own things. Like survivors feel like they have to move all the way across the country because they can't be where they were born. You know, like everybody has their things. And it just, I think, makes it so much harder to just have just the normalcy of a stable life. It feels like I've never had anything stable and I'm constantly searching for that. And I need to like create it instead of searching.
Yes.
And I'm like looking for it for somewhere, but it's
though.
like, it's here. Like if I just build on myself, I'll find that. But
it is. Yeah. But it's a lot easier said than done.
Yes.
It takes time. And I think that it ends up happening and you don't even realize it's happening until you're there, which is kind of the beauty in it. Because you're, like you said, you can look back at different times of your life and be like, it's nice to see how far I've come. And that, I think those are going to be really important reminders for you. I mean, even I think like you mentioned it when we spoke the second time, or when, I don't know how many times we spoke, but like the time around to plan this, I feel like, you know, we were you were in a different place when I first reached out, when now you're like, I can do this. I'm ready.
Right.
You know, so
as much as I wanted to do it, I just wasn't in the place.
But even that, it's like, that's okay because you always need to trust your gut and you always need to be ready for you.
Right.
And just because, and that goes to show too, is like, just because somebody is sharing their story in their own comfort behind their own screen doesn't mean that they are ready to talk about it on anyone else's time and terms.
Right.
And that's all right. You know, like, and I think I always tell people, you know, the purpose of this platform is to give survivors and victims their control back. Because in all of these situations, most of the time, these people had no control. And that's why I always am like, when I invite people on, I'm like, take it. You have your control. Share it in the way that you want, you feel called to. And, you know, I think that you'll, throughout your life and different experiences, there's going to be days where I feel like, as you know, it's so hard and confusing. And those days are what makes you human. You know, it's like we're never, no matter how healed we are, we're never going to be invincible.
Right.
And not look back and still feel pain and trauma. That's what makes us relatable. But the fact that you're able to take something that was not only so traumatic, but just, it could carry so much shame, like you said. And I'm sure so many, I mean, people feel shame over the smallest of things. So, and that's such a normal feeling, such a normal human emotion. And the fact that you were able to be like, you know what? Fuck this. It needs to be spoken about. That is, I always tell people, never take that lightly with yourself. Even if it starts to become almost like you're normal. Like even people that are advocates and talk, public speak, and it's almost like becomes their thing. Every time you do it is still just as powerful as that first time you did it. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's life-changing. And it's not only so powerful for yourself, but you are changing so many people's lives. Like you needed that. And now you're that for other people.
Yeah. And that's kind of like where it all started, you know?
Yeah.
Just needing support and community.
Right.
And then it grew into me being this person who was like helping people.
Yeah.
But I was like, I didn't even come here to help.
Right. Exactly. When I started this, I wasn't
needed
even
help.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
You guys, like, I still need help. Like,
Right.
I don't know.
We always
But
need
it's like,
help. Yeah.
That's why I really do like, there's pros and cons, bad things and good things to TikTok and the online advocacy world. But like, I truly have made like such great connections. And I think some of the best connections are with people who have held me accountable. Like when I have maybe fallen short as an advocate or fallen short as a friend. And just that community has genuinely like helped me so much. And like, I'm so grateful for the community that I created over there. And just like, especially like my mutuals, like the survivors that are posting like me and stuff. Like, it's just so like, inspirational to see like all of our growth, because we all have like kind of entered the platforms at different times and things like that. And it's just like, knowing that like, you're not alone is it's so important to healing. And like, when I post, like what keeps me posting truly, like it's hard for people to understand. And it might just be like kind of like my personality, because I am kind of like jaded or a little bit like rough around the edges type of person. But I'm like, all the hate is what drives me. Like, and I have heard a lot of people like say like, I don't post anymore because I got a lot of hate or things like that. So I really do try and like continue like my journey of advocating, even through my mental health and stuff, because I know that I am kind of rare in that ability to just be like, actually, that's going to make me post more.
Right.
Like, oh, you don't want to hear it. It makes you uncomfortable. Well, let me post 5 more posts after this one. You know, like I'm like
that
a person who's
make
very much just
me.
like, this just proves that I need to post it more.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
It's mind boggling. Like that is one of the things through all of this and helping people, you know, have a platform to share their stories. The fact that there's people that write anything, even remotely,
I know, and you're
negative,
sharing it.
Even writing this makes me
too.
uncomfortable. Don't watch it then.
Right. But it's also like, you look silly because I posted this.
Right.
I clicked post. Like, you're making fun of me and laughing at me for something that I voluntarily posted.
And honestly, we live in a very like sick world. I mean, it is
They will
twisted.
say the most disgusting things.
Right.
But truthfully, I have always tried to like, not at the very beginning, but it did shift. Like, I would get some really bad hate messages, specifically with topics like POCD, with the animal stuff too. But like, I would be told that I'm a predator and things like that. And child on child sexual abuse is also another very touchy one that I have touched on as being a victim and somebody who perpetrated it. I have openly talked about this stuff, obviously, but then I'm told that, oh, you're a predator, you deserve to go to jail and stuff.
Right.
But instead of getting defensive and being like, you're right, or, F you, I would just meet them where they're at. Like, obviously, maybe you're a victim of this and that's why you're coming at me like that and you're very upset, but like, hear me out.
Right.
And surprisingly enough, I would get through to a lot of people, like in my private messages and even in my comments sometimes, of like true, or maybe, and even sometimes it would take months for them to message me. I'd get a message a month later and them saying, I looked at this differently.
Yeah.
And I'm really sorry. Like I was just coming at you from a very angry, triggered state. I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. And those are the things that's why like child on child sexual abuse really needs to be talked about more, because it's two children. So it's very like hard for people to understand, that like the perpetrators in it aren't always like violent and are always out to hurt the child. Sometimes they are, but I openly talked about my experience as being a perpetrator of it as a very young child, for survivors of it, not for perpetrators at all. And the people who truly watched like to the end of my videos and stuff would see that. It was me always framing it as like, if you are a victim of child on child sexual abuse, you do not have to forgive who abused you. You do not have to, talk to them at family get-togethers just because they're your cousin or your brother or whatever, like you have every right to hold them just as accountable as an adult. Like, and that is coming from somebody who did this, like as a hurt child. I want you guys to know that. And that people took that very wrong and ran with it, But I continue to talk about it because it helped a lot of people realize that it is a cycle.
Yes, absolutely. And let's
people were
look
like,
at the full, go back a little bit. But people are so quick.
There are so many
judge.
different things that can lead to these things,
Yes.
but children don't just
No.
sexually abuse other children. There's obviously something wrong and it needs to be addressed, and we can't just ignore it and it's going to go away. It's just it doesn't work that way, and I am a firm believer that if we do not understand both sides of things, we can't truly understand them.
Yeah.
Like there's no understanding pedophilia because who can trust a pedophile? Like you can't really do proper research on these people and do like polls on them or something, like they're going to tell the truth. Like you can't do research on it. If nobody's talking about the other side of child sexual abuse or child on child sexual abuse, how are we really going to know how to stop it? Like I want people to know, like if I had parents who were watching me, if I wasn't sexually abused and I didn't think that these things were normalized, I would have never done the things that I did.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay because of all of these things. Now that's my one experience. Are there a million other experiences of child on child sexual abuse that maybe is a significant older kid and a younger kid and there was severe violence? All situations need to be looked at as their own. And that's another thing that is hard online. People just see one thing and they're like, that's how it is. It's just black and white. There's always nuance.
Yep.
That's why I believe survivors. Like if they go on there and they say, no, my family member did this and they knew what they were doing. They threatened me, like all of these things. That's your story. That's your truth. I'm not going to deny it, but I still get to talk about mine, even if it makes you uncomfortable.
Right.
And I think that through sharing really, really hard topics, I have been made it easier for people to share their own experiences and talk about it, whether that be in my comment section, in my DMs, or maybe with their therapist, like those are the most important messages that I get. Like the ones that say like, I decided that I'm going to go and tell a therapist for the first time, because I know that they're truly going to choose healing, that they're not just sitting in their pain anymore. And that's important. And especially the messages that are like, I'm going to report. Those ones are also really important too, because it's like the more we have people reporting, the more people that will go to jail. The odds are still against us, but the more people that do it, the better chances we have And I get those messages regularly, of I never thought I was going to report this, but after watching all of your videos, you've given me strength. And I don't even really when I post videos, I just post them, I just make a little lip syncing video and I just post, I don't really think about the impact necessarily that it's going to make. I would say that I've been pretty selfish through my advocacy and my online stuff. Most of the time I post for me. I post to get something off of my chest, to release something, to maybe somebody has said something to me recently and I'm like, no. Let me actually tell you the truth about this, and it has been more driven through selfishness and wanting myself to heal. And I think that it's incredible that through that, I have still been able to help so many people and then be like, you share yourself so raw and authentically, and I'm not really looking at it that way. So when people bring that to my attention, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I am, but really I'm just existing, just making it day by day like everyone else.
Yeah. Trying to make it through.
Yeah.
Well, you do an incredible job of sharing your story, and I hope you never stop.
Thank you.
Seriously, you're incredible. And I mean, as you know, I've been following along for a couple years, and it's very important. And it's something that you don't hear often, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be talked about, like we said, and it exists. And there needs to be more done in so many ways. For as much as I feel like we've had, what's the word I'm looking for? Not improvement. I guess for as forward as we've come with stories on social media and it's more public.
Right.
You would think that more change would be enforced. But there's still so much, I like how you brought up people treat it as a running joke. All types of abuse, even with the Epstein files. And it's like
all types. It's always a joke.
And it's so normalized.
And I get it to a degree when it's like your story.
Right.
Humor can help. It makes it
I'm talking about the people that have no idea and they just comment on it and it becomes
not funny.
No.
Yeah, it's not.
And it's just so this is normal now. This is the world we live in. And it's twisted. And I think that obviously, like you just said, we live in a world where there's a lot of darkness. So we do need light. And it is nice to bring light to dark situations. But that never means minimizing someone's trauma.
Right.
Treating trauma as a joke, treating abuse as a joke, because it's not at all.
Yeah, it's serious and it's not taken seriously in our criminal system even. And that's where that's what I want people to realize.
Yes.
Maybe we could be about it a little bit more and we'd have a little bit more room for that if 99% of predators went to prison.
Let's joke about them going in.
98% of the 1,000 that are reported walk free.
Yes.
So maybe if the numbers were a little different, we could be like, yeah, it's so funny because they're all in prison, or dead.
Exactly.
But that's not the case. No. They're amongst us. They're laughing by you. They're sitting next to you, laughing alongside you. I mean, I'm sorry, but almost everybody knows a predator. That's the reality. Everyone has met a predator. I don't care what anyone thinks.
Yeah.
You meet them all the time. They are some of the most charismatic,
hiding in plain sight,
normal people you've ever met, teachers, doctors, anyone.
All of them.
Anyone. Honestly, the people that are the most upstanding citizens tend to be the creepiest. They're the ones that have the worst, skeletons in their closet. And they just put a good front out for the world because they're hiding that. Of course, you're going to be the best you can be. Yeah. That was my stepdad. I mean, nobody would have thought. He was the favorite son. He was the greatest guy at work. He'd do anything, I mean, he would do that for me even. He would jump, pick me up from the mountain, do anything you need him to do. Because if you don't, you lose everything because you have all of this stuff that's, that you've done and you've done. And it's just, people don't understand that they're everywhere. They really are. And laughing and joking about things like that.
Right. No.
You're just fueling.
Absolutely. And you're allowing it to pass by day in and day out, again and again. 'Cause it's not
and then
taken
it makes
seriously.
survivors think like, oh, well, what happened to me is a joke. I just shouldn't even talk about it. Or then they feel more shame because.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not good. But you're a huge part of the change. Seriously. And you're amazing. And thank you so much for coming. I'm so proud of you.
For having
Seriously,
me.
of course. I'm so glad you came here and doing it all alone. Props to you, girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's something you got to log. Like I
All
did
the way
that.
across the country. Yeah.
Amazing. Seriously.